And I am back, and the continuation starts. Of course, Zerglings moving in. The Broodlords are actually attacking the planetary fortress, which is most probably going to drop, though, even though all these tanks and things are going to be taking care of the Broodlords that are sending down their little units. Of course, aTnDarkForce is saying out. I don't know exactly what it means by that 555. He's actually saying, he's trying to say, like, move out or something like that. The snipes, of course, coming in from the actual ghosts themselves, taking down those Broodlords pretty nicely, though. But even though I do believe, does he have any more ghosts left? Oh, he has plenty of ghosts. Look at the amount of ghost mix in there. I don't know why he doesn't put in more anti-air, or maybe get a couple of ravens up with that seeker missile. That should be able to take care of those Broodlords pretty quickly. More snipes coming down, a few more infested terrans being thrown in by the infestors themselves. Those infested terrans should be dropped pretty quickly, especially with the amount of ground forces that the actual Brat has. More infested terrans being dropped down. These infested terrans should die pretty quickly. I don't believe they'll even hatch. Nope, they just died really quickly. Infestors are retreating. Bailing's trying to move in, take care of just one ghost. One ghost fries up nicely, and that's it. Infested swarm eggs. We should have those terrans pop up. Yes, we have those infested terrans, but really nothing in terms of that. We do, of course, have quite a big push coming in with the Zerglings from this side as well. It is moving in for the actual Terran player. He did manage to take out quite a lot of buildings. These tanks are moving up in terms of to take care of these. This planetary should be able to take care of the rest of the Zerglings. Really no crystals here, so not really much of a loss in terms of Justice Tech, so he could remove them anyways down here. So not really value-wise at this base itself, so it's been harvested and mined out, so he can just rebuild his unit somewhere else, and these Zerglings should be mopped up. I don't know why he doesn't split these units in two. Of course, the wormhole has also been taken out. I call these wormholes. I don't know, I sort of think it fits substantially better. Infested Terrans going for this command center. I don't think it'll be able to take it out. The Infested Terrans too slow to be able to catch up with the command center. And so far, this is pretty crazy game. DarkForce did switch from those Mutalisks to complete Broodlords. I don't know if he actually filled up the whole supply line. He just had a few investors. Investors should maybe even drop the fungal. No, he actually misses the fungal. Here comes a push. All ground forces, no anti-air. Just those ghosts to take care of those Broodlords. Are those Broodlords being called in, though? No Broodlords being called in. Again, they are in the center of the map. They're being held here with a few infestors and a couple of corruptors. And now he's actually going to be moving them up to deal with this push coming in from Brat himself. Of course, the hatchery drops down, or whatever it was, I do believe it was just hatchery, drops down for a DarkForce. So he is moving up for the actual main base. Scan comes down, he sees all those actual spine crawlers, and he decides to call it a day. As another scan sees that there's all these infestors and corruptors, and he doesn't want to lose. Since again he has no anti-air, he is relying on his ghost to take care of the anti-air. More factories being built in the main base, and really otherwise that's really about it. Everything else has been moved out of the main base itself since the main base got crushed. I don't know if he actually remade his Ghost Academy down, and we do have a couple of Zerglings here. Really not able to do anything, as the planetary does, or should be, substantially able to take care of these. But look at the amount of factories he has all over the map. Here comes a small little push, and the spine crawler is moving down. A couple of fungals obviously hit those Thors, and he is moving down. Broodlords coming in, and those ghosts still a little bit out of range. He needs those ghosts to take care of these Thors, of course, as well. I don't know why he doesn't put in a mix at least a few more Thors. He's just really playing off these two Thors, so 3 Thors actually. So I'm a little bit confused exactly what he's trying to do here. The Thor, of course, had to drop because of the fungal itself. He couldn't control it, couldn't move it. Here comes those little broodlings towards those tanks themselves. Are they even going to reach it? I do believe they're going to die before they reach so far. No, they are going to die. Broodlords moving forward. This is pretty nice, intense game, though. A lot of later on aggression. Here comes the Zerglings that were up here, just harassing these factories themselves. A couple of Hellions being thrown out. They should be able to fry the Zerglings pretty quickly, and another harass, a couple of Zerglings as well. All these Hellions should be able to fry that as well, and another push of Zerglings here. And no, a couple of Broodlords here actually as well. This is really his Achilles heel. No anti-air in terms of that. Those Broodlords are going to be taken care of. This I do believe this was the 3rd base, so this base is going to drop pretty quickly, and we do have another harass coming in. Complete Hellion harass here. Nothing really intended here, just all Hellion out, and still those Broodlings are going to be taking care of these pretty quickly, and the planetary fortress should be able to sustain these 3 Broodlings. I do believe it can cope with these 3 Broodlings pretty easily. Here comes the harass with those Hellions. Look at the amount of Hellions. They should be able to mop up and fry the rest of these remaining drones. I don't even think this actual spine crawler will survive. It'll be blue flame to death, and very nice placement by the actual infestors. He did put the fungal growth very nicely down. He actually managed to infect quite a lot of them. Unfortunately, they don't have a lot of energy. Here comes another fungal growth. No, he is going to be placing down infested Terrans. So this is pretty interesting in terms of that. Broodlords coming in again for the primary base. Again, the planetary is being forced to deal with this. No anti-air from actually Brat himself, so he is really lacking in anti-air, and that's what the Zerg Dark Force knows, and he is sniping. The Broodlord's going to drop with those snipes from the actual Ghost itself. Of course, the Corruptor is chasing down the planetary fortress. Nothing really happening in terms of that. I don't know why he doesn't move the Ghost a little up to take care of this actual Corruptor itself, though. But, you know, anyways, he will be able to drop the medevac itself. Again, the push is continuing to happen. This planetary is going to drop, and he's going to go for those supply depots. Is he going to go in for the supply depots? It might actually cut down... sorry, I'm losing my voice. It might actually cut down the actual supply capacity for, of course, Brad. Brad won't be able to produce this many. This is really a crazy game, all out. Hellions moving back forth and more units streaming across the map. Just a heavy tech push here, even though it seems to be a base for base swap. He's losing all these supply depots. His supply line is dropped below the actual limit itself. He is going to lose all this base. There's nothing really, no retaliation in terms of this. He just has a lot of these ghosts that are going to be moving up. They are going to be taking care of this. I do believe the line here is still holding. He did put on siege mode, and he is going to be taking out this base. Seems to be a base for a base swap itself. Hellion is going to be dropped pretty quickly, and this is it in terms of exactly what's happening on the map itself. I don't know why he's not responding to this. Did he even move the ghosts in? No, he's not moving in the ghosts. Is he going to retreat? He's not just moving Thors themselves, probably just to deal with air harass. Here comes the scan, and the ghosts are moving in with no cloak, so it's just ghosts all out. So here come those ghosts. They should be sniping. It's a complete ghost versus Broodlord. It's a pretty interesting play. I've never seen this happen before. Broodlords, of course, moving in, and the Corruptors to back them up. A few siege tanks left here to continue firing down any units that are moving across. We do have a few investors here. Roaches, trying to do a little bit of harass. These should be substantially enough to take care of this. He might even lose this command center if he doesn't repair it. Few SCVs being pulled off the line. Hellion's going to be taking care of those infestors. And that's about it. The primary base for Brat itself has completely been wiped out, and the Corruptors are, of course, retreating since the Broodlords can mop up the rest of the base itself. Those two tanks in the center of the base are still holding out in case any movements happen there. The road should be able to drop down, and he's going to move down. He could be able to drop this base itself. This is a newly saturated base. This would be a really good grapple, maybe a good pullback in terms of Brat himself can take it down, but the Brute Lord's still moving down. Still no response in terms of these Brute Lords. I don't know, Brat is full out ignoring it. He is just trying to move forward, and he's trying to do as much damage as possible in terms of moving his siege and heavy mech build down here. The Brute Lords, of course, picking off his base on the top left side, and barracks are moving up. Everything is lifting off, and he's going to just move them down. Brood Lord is obviously useless in terms of being able to attack anything that's airlifted up, but again, they are going to be moving down here, and he really has to deal with this Brood Lord, really massive Brood Lord infestation from Dark Force. He is deciding to retreat. He dropped the base itself, and more Zerglings, I do believe, no, more Corruptors are coming into play. A little bit useless though, since really Brat has no anti-air forces, but these Thors should be able to target fire these Corruptors themselves. Here comes the attack. Of course, Corruptors retreat. Brood Lords are starting snipes, take care of the Brood Lord itself. And so far so good. He should move the Ghost a little as close as possible, maybe a little lower, but he doesn't want to risk that. More snipes coming in. Another Brood Lord is going to go down. And so far, really nice play from both players. This is ridiculous though, but still looking towards the Zerg side as the supply line for Brad is really below supply, so he really has to produce those supply depots as he lost his main base and lost quite a hefty amount of units and resources and buildings. So it is looking up towards Dark Force's side. So really interesting to see more infested Terrans. Are they going to be moving up the line? He should siege up, of course. They should be easily mop up these forces themselves. Those Ghosts should be able to snipe out. And here's the question, will it be able to take out this Brood Lord force? This is what has been hampering Brat for the whole time, and look at those Ghosts. They are sniping, taking care of those Brood Lords. Another Brood Lords drop. Are they going to be able to survive this? Should have kept them sieged up to be able to take care of those Broodlings being thrown down by the Brood Lords. Another Brood Lord drops, a third Brood Lord drops, and the last one, hopefully infested Terran, is obviously trying to control the actual Ghost itself, and he did manage to do that. He did manage to control the Terran itself by the Neuroparasite, and of course the He got targeted, fired down the Infestor. More Broodlings being forced down, more Broodlords. Look at the amount of Infestors. He switched completely to Infestors now. He sort of cut down on the Broodlords and going all Infestors. This is a complete infested turn push by the Infestors themselves. This is really interesting. Crazy, crazy, crazy game. Again, you're a parasite for the Thor itself. The Thor is going up against the actual turn units, Brat's units himself, so he's going to have to be forced to take out his own Thor itself, so the Thor drops. A very nice play from DarkForce. Finally it switches, but too late, too much damage. The Thor drops, and the Planetary is going to drop. Not enough repairs happening to the Planetary. All those Broodlings are going to cause too much damage, and he decides to retreat. Brat is going to let this base drop, and another victory for DarkForce himself. I don't know why he's not rebuilding. He is actually finally up to supply line, and he should start his production now. But the amount of bases and the amount of resources coming in from one base is nearly harvested, second base is coming online. Those Hellions are preventing any farming happening or any harvesting happening in terms of crystals. So really, both players are pretty much harvested out. This was the only crystal line that actually had any sort of income for any of the players, though, as the only base here that was left was taken out by those Hellions, and we only have a few more drones. You should go for those drones themselves, and you have a retreat with the Brute Lords themselves. Production line is completely ground to a halt, as both players have literally harvested out the map. There's really nothing left except the central map itself. Oh, finally, we have Brat with just a few remnants of the crystals left. Those Hellions moving in, they should be taken out by the Spine Crawlers. He decides to retreat. A very smart move. He should go keep those Hellions here and take care of any drones coming alive from the actual DarkForce player himself. And we have two more hatcheries coming online. He is expanding. He knows he needs those crystals. He needs to expand, and so does Brat. But Brat is not really going aggressive about it. He is going for the resource line that's already half harvested out. I don't know why he doesn't go for a nice, clean, full resource mineral line like here, but I don't see this very positive for Brat himself. DarkForce is going for those fully saturated crystal lines, and he's going to be able to get his economy up and running pretty quickly. Once he gets those drones up, this should be pretty nice. And of course we have the Spine Crawlers here to defend his actual income and production line of crystals, and a few more units to protect it, as he knows that all the players are actually mined out. I don't know why, again, he is going for those really half drained up or nearly completely empty mineral lines themselves. So really interesting to see exactly what happens there. I'm back from a little bit of break as I was losing my voice a bit. I needed to gain my voice, and we do have a small little push coming in. Again, no anti-air units. I don't know why Brat doesn't throw in some anti-air units. This is a completely crazy game. Of course this hatchery is going to drop pretty quickly, though. He should take this hatchery over and get a nice fresh mineral line up for Brat himself. If he has any chance of going up against actual DarkForce, he should be able to drop everything else down. Is this army moving down? No, they are going to be able to mop up the space. It should just raise and force those Brute Lords to not do any damage. I don't know why he doesn't raid this. Brat is not really paying attention. We have the Factory Scout here, of course a couple of Zerglings moving around to harass, to really test out the waters here. Those Ghosts and Planetary should be able to take care of this, and of course the base lifted up and is moving away. Those Zerglings still scouting out if there's anything here. And that's it in terms of the actual gameplay for the Zerg player itself. Really nothing left to do. Those minerals are being harvested pretty quickly, and the mineral line is going to drop. There's really not much left to harvest. We just have a few more, and it's being overtaken by the DarkForce itself. Here comes the drone, is going to plop down another hatchery. So this isn't looking too well for Brat himself. He is really on the losing end. The map control is really going towards the Zerg player, and we have a couple of more Corruptors and the new hatchery coming online. He has taken up all those main bases, especially with those new or completely fresh mineral lines still there, and Brat is really working off the half already harvested mineral line itself. Not really looking positive for Brat himself. Let's speed it up just a little bit more, as the game time is taking a little bit longer, and I'd like to see something happen in terms of the gameplay itself. Of course, now since the actual crystals are being harvested from both the players, we should see more units being plopped in from both the units themselves. So let's take a look at DarkForce is 144, Brat is 103. Here comes the push. He is actually going to be taken out. I don't know if he's actually going in to take out this hatchery itself, or he's going in for a push. He is going in for a push. He's scanning. He realized that there is a completely new hatchery up and running, and it's pretty good. Of course, DarkForce is not going to let that happen, as this is a substantial amount of income coming in. Again, he has no anti-air, only these Thors to deal with anti-air itself. Drones being pulled off the line to not lose the drones. He is probably going to lose the hatchery. Here come those infestors. Are they going to place the fungal, or are they going to place those infested infestors? So here comes those infested infestors that are going to prop brute lords also as well. Those ghosts should be able to snipe the rest of it, and those siege tanks should hopefully try to make as much damage as possible. All those brute lords are going to drop another fungal drop. A substantial amount of units actually fall for Force himself. Another those infestors are trying to again take control of those ghosts themselves. Not really very successful. A few more tanks left, and this hatchery is going to drop hopefully with those ghosts just finishing it off, and the queen of course retreats, and that's it for the hatchery itself. Even though he has another hatchery again that's going to be taken down by the tank itself. Which tank is sniping that out? Here's the tank. Another hatchery drops for Dark Force. A few more Zerglings swarming across the map, probably just to harass these marines or these barracks here. Here comes those infestors. They obviously swarm and take out the ghost itself. A couple of Hellions here should be able to take care of these Zerglings, even though they are completely upgraded, or cracklings as they so-called call them. They are going to be fried and taken care of. I don't know why he doesn't make the full research and start placing down a couple of nukes. Nukes would be really advantageous, but they are very costly. But since he really is not responding to any air units, and do we have any more air units in terms of Dark Force himself? No, Dark Force decided not to go with any more units, and he doesn't have any really anti-air except those ghosts themselves, so I don't really see this again looking very up for Brat himself. A couple of Hellions should be able to easily fry the Zerglings, even though he's trying to make a good surround with those Zerglings. Dark Force failed with the surround with those Zerglings, and a small little push happening in terms of a few ghosts and one tank itself. Here comes those broodlings. They should be able to easily take out this tank, and maybe, you know, he decides to retreat. He doesn't want to risk going up against all these ghosts, as the ghosts have been pretty effective at sniping down his broodlings, and it's really costing him quite a lot. Those broodlings do cost a lot of money, so even though he is down on, let's say, literally just one base, it's not really looking up for for Brat himself, though. Even though he's not, I don't know why he doesn't expand to any secondary base. He could move the planetary down, or move the planetary here, and actually stay camped out here. A few broodlings that are going to pop off and die, and that's it. This base is going to be harvested pretty soon, and let's take a look at the resources. Resource-wise, Brat is a little bit ahead, but here comes another push. I do believe they're Hellions. Hellions are going to be going in for the production line itself. Of course, there are no more crystals here. Those infestors have popped down a few infestations. Those Hellions are going to drop most probably a lot of damage with those infestors. They did throw down a couple of what was it? That fungal growth. I don't know why I called it infestations. They threw down a couple of fungal growths, and they did manage to take it out. Of course, Vespene gas is running out, and crystals are starting to run out. Both the players are starting to move towards the center of the map, as that's the only place left. Hellions, of course, here to take out the rest of the production line. Hatchery is going to drop as well. This is a crazy game. Broodlings trying to move in. Hellions could be easily able to escape this, but of course, look at the amount of roaches and infestors and broodlords. Now it's been switched down to a roach play more for Dark Knight, and finally the base is coming up again for Brat, but I don't see this again living very long, as this really base is mined out pretty much. He needs a new base. Brat should move out, especially to a new crystal line, maybe here. He should really move out to get those crystals up and running. We do have 1, 2, 3 bases, really 4 bases left, and that'll be the end of the actual crystals throughout the whole map itself. So it really depends on who is going to get these last remaining crystal resources, or last remaining crystal deposits on the map itself, to be able to continue this push. Here come those infested Terrans. They should be able to take out these mules. Mules being pulled off the line, of course, the orbital as well. He doesn't want to lose these resources he invested into this. They're too slow to be able to catch up. He should just move away, and that should be the end of the infested Terrans. So they should drop pretty quickly. Factory Scout, of course, moving around. We have another base being built up for a Dark Templar for Dark Force, and we have, of course, Scout Hellion moving across, and we have those mules being moved across as well. Dark infested Terrans are going to be dropped down. I don't know why I keep wanting to say Dark Templar all the damn time. Never mind. So a hell of a lot more ghosts being produced for, or ready for, Brat himself. We have 13 more roaches online. Creep tumors being placed down, and we do have the Zerg missile attack level 2, so we should see some air coming back online as well. That is, of course, for those broodlings to help them out, or for those mutalisks. But I do believe that Zerg missile, level 2, is going to help those broodlings as well. It should give them a level 2. So pretty interesting to see. Here come those roaches, and it should pretty easily mop up this base itself. I mean mop up these units themselves. Actually, those ghosts, they are nearly completely full on energy, so it should give a pretty good challenge in terms of finally Cloak is available for those ghosts. So we do have target fire coming down for those broodlings. Broodlings are going to drop pretty quickly, and we do have Overseer finally coming online to actually be able to see those cloaked ghosts and give the ability for those ground forces and broodlings to be able to attack those cloaked ghosts. So we have one Overseer online. Of course, the orbital command is coming back on, and another push moves, and another hatchery drops. No, not a hatchery. Actually, he dropped his hatchery. No, he is moving back. He's retreating. He just cleaned it up a bit. And is he going to move down here? He really needs a new crystal line. Brat is really looking for another crystal line, so we shall see exactly how the play goes. So far, it's pretty quiet and peaceful, and let's see what exactly happens. I do believe there should be a final push somewhere in this game. I don't know why. It's sort of 50-50 though, even though it is looking up towards Brat, looking up towards DarkForce. As DarkForce is able to get these mineral lines really fortified and tumored up. So finally a new mineral line coming on for Brat himself. This is what Brat needs. He needs to defend this mineral line teeth and nail. He really needs those crystals. He really needs to keep that alive. Look at the amount of roaches. I do believe this is the end for Brat. The moment Brat sees this, he's going to call it quits. I don't really see any recovery or any possibility of being able to take care of this many roaches. This is his main force. His main force is going to drop. Ghosts should not even cloaked. Ghosts are actually cloaked now. The Overseer is not anywhere near, so it should be able to snipe out quite a lot of those roaches. Though the Overseer should be coming out or being moved forward. Where is that Overseer though? He needs that Overseer, as really Brat's force consists of ghosts, and that's it, just a few remnants of those Hellions. Those ghosts are going to go for those Brute Lords, of course, sniping down those Brute Lords. But so far, nothing really happening in terms of Brat trying to rebuild, as his resources are pretty low. He is still at 100 crystals. He is really not really having any of that production line, not producing any of those. He is going mainly for Hellions, and no more tanks. Not switching to air, and it's ridiculous. The amount of roaches that DarkForce has should mop up these ghosts, even though, where's the Overseer? The Overseer should be here to deal with this pretty quickly. Of course, an infestation or a fungal comes down, and finally Brat calls it a good game. And this is the end of a second part for the Brat versus DarkForce, as Terran versus Zerg itself. The game was really crazy. Of course, it was a very late on game, and the Zerg player did manage to outbeat Brat. I don't believe it was due to the fact that his strategy was really well. I do believe Brat was ahead a lot of times. Unfortunately, he failed to actually enforce his air units. He didn't bring in any air units, he didn't bring in any Ravens, he didn't bring in anything to deal with air units. He really relied on just those missile turrets. But overall, the game was really crazy, and I understand why it was voted one of the top games or the top replays to be seen. So, as always, give it a thumbs up if you like it, and I'll see you guys in another replay. Take care, happy gaming, bye.